Okay. Here, take three. So to follow up with technical difficulties last week with Russell, we thought we would continue on in the same vein. So here we have a technical expert and genius when it comes to everything technical, and we also have Norm Rogers, founder of SellerTool Kit. I've already made that joke tonight, but only Norm heard it, so thought it was too bad not to share again. Norm, if I can segue across to you and you introduce yourself while I act like a swan and post this link in different places, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, if you don't know who I am, I'm Norm Rogers, the person solely behind SellerTool Kit, or as we like to call it, STK today. I'm pretty sure most of you have messaged me or posted or had a reply from me at some point in the past. Or if you haven't got STK, why not?
Where have you been?
Where have you been? Yeah, I just give you a quick. While Lloyd's sorting out the tech issues, my background is IT. That's what I've been doing all my life. I'm a developer, developer, solutions architect for major banks, and I started selling in Amazon on Amazon 5 years ago, I think it was. Just picked it up, gave it a go, but realised that it was totally impossible to find out where you were, what you were doing, how much money you were making, what you did or didn't sell profitably, and especially at the time before Brexit, we were selling all across Europe, and it was just a mess to be able to try and do that through Amazon, and there weren't no real good enough apps around, so I just thought I'd spend 3 months putting a quick app together. And that was 4.5, nearly 5 years ago, and that app is still being built. And I just mentioning to Lloyd before we came on, I've still got about 30, 40 A4 pages with lists of new functionality to be added to STK. And that list, although I tick something off, every time I tick one item off, I add another 1 or 2 items. So it's a never-ending list, and STK is just going to get huge, and it's going to be the place, the app to have that will not only tell you what's happened today and in the past, but it's going to tell you where things are going wrong, just like it does with reconciliation. And I think that's one piece that I'm pretty proud of myself as reconciliation, because nobody can work out where their items are. And yeah. Amazon's approach to this is dreadful. All of their reporting is totally inaccurate, which is what STK does. It pulls everything in from all over the place, doesn't use the reports that you would generally use to be able to do reconciliation and find out what money you're owed from reimbursements. It just does it totally automated and doesn't miss a trick. But so there are things like that, which was going to be a paid add-on, but I decided to make it as part of SellerTool Kit because it was important for everyone to have. The manual repricing you can do, which is something I've not seen anywhere, and of course the automatic repricing, which is just getting huge, and so many new features being added to it all the time. So it does a lot more than just tell you how much you made today, or how much you might have lost today. So yeah, in-day trial.
Yeah, thanks for the segue, and yeah, hopefully that's everyone in that wants to join. And yeah, I've got 11 people watching, so hopefully Facebook does sends this notification out and things. So really, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to PM me, drop a comment, and I'll do my best to catch up with things. It's not ideal. I've kind of been preparing for this live since about 6:15, and at the moment of truth, got that down. But sure, we carry on. So I would say the majority of people who are probably watching this or consuming this probably are customers currently using SellerTool Kit. If you're not using it, if you're just starting out, honestly, I think you've talked about the reconciliation side of things. It basically makes the software free, in my opinion. You know, it more than pays for itself each month. Have a quick check. Well, obviously we're on the 1st of September, so not sure about any reimbursements just today, but I'll check my SellerTool Kit for not just the reimbursements, but the actual profit made on the reimbursements as well from last month. So if I look at last month, previous month, yeah, I mean, in terms of profit and reimbursements last month for us, yeah, £184.92 profit on money that Amazon owed us. So yeah, for a piece of software that is, how much is SellerTool Kit at the moment? I've kind of not really looked at it so long.
At the moment, it's $32.99 a month.
There you go. So yeah, more than pays for itself. So let's talk through a couple of things, a couple of questions that have just been posted. So good man, Donal, the reconciliation bit paid for a full 2 years of STK for me. It was unreal how much Amazon owed me and weren't going to pay. Yeah. Amazon, whatever you think of them, I think it's an amazing opportunity to sell on Amazon, and I'm always very grateful for the opportunity. There's a lot to be desired when it comes to certain aspects of the business, and it's clear where their focus is. Amazon's focus is with their customers. So yeah, it really does take pieces of software like this just to gather and tie up the loose ends, so to speak. What would your opinion be on that, Nolan?
What some people don't seem to realise is that Amazon do actually reimburse you. They reimburse you for items they've damaged, items they've lost, only if they know about it. And you've got to remember that, like, these items that are coming out of boxes are being scanned in either manually or by machine, and things get dropped off. And what SDK is doing is finding those items that are unaccounted for. And it won't bother telling you that you've got a reimbursement to raise a case for reimbursement until Amazon have gone past the date that they would normally reimburse. And for most damaged items, it's 30 days. If it's a customer return, it's 45 days after they were given the refund. So 90% of the time, you will get your item back. It will go back to inventory, or you'll get your reimbursement. But 10% of the time you won't. And you won't know about it unless you try and do your own digging. And even if you do your own digging, before I built the reconciliation process into STK, we all used to do it manually. And what you used to do is download the inventory adjustment report. You had to then filter on D, N, and E.
There's the codes. There was the codes for...
Yeah, the disposition codes or whatever they were, D, M, and E. And then if you did that once every 3, I've done it once every 3 months because it's a pain in the butt to do the job. And then you'd have a spreadsheet of about 100 items, and you're only allowed to send in a spreadsheet of 5 items per case. So therefore, you had to set up 20 different cases for them to go in, and then a lot of the time you'd get an email back 4 or 5 saying nothing due, nothing due, nothing due, and then maybe 20 quid due on this item. And there was no, if they said there was nothing due, you had no comeback. You did not know whether you really were owed that money. You just had to take it and say, well, they said there's nothing due. So when I built SDK, the first time I fired it up, which is 2 years ago now, 2 years this September, we're September now. It was 2 years September, and I fired it up, and it had a lot less functionality that it does now. And I was raising cases on items that was showing that were missing or lost or damaged and overdue, that previously they told me were not overdue. So I'd set up the email, send it off, and they say nothing due. And I would say, yes, there is, because I knew exactly where all my items were. I had an email that told me exactly, the reconciliation, exactly where everything was, and the email was built, but it would say what those items are. So I used to have a to and fro with their automated process, and the people that would just press go, no, you're owed nothing. And to test out my process, I'd go back and forward to these emails and then say, put me through to your manager. And in the end, I would get reimbursed. Sometimes I wouldn't get reimbursed. They'll say, okay, maybe there is a problem with SDK's reconciliation, fix that up. So over the last 2 years, the reconciliation is is near damn it 99.5% accurate as far as finding stuff. I mean, it won't miss anything. It might say you're owed something that you're not, and that again could be down to Amazon's reporting, because I'm using all the different reports as well as the adjustment report. And then, so what happens is that you'll just get a notification to say you have an overdue reimbursement. So you don't have to worry about chasing up every 3 months doing that adjustment or looking where your stock is. You just turn around and say, well, look, I'll just let SDK look after it. It will tell me when, if and when I'm owed a reimbursement, and then I'll set up one case. So instead of setting up 20 emails every 3 months or 30 emails, whatever, every 3 months, you're just going to be doing 1 or 2 emails a week. And the SDK has got all the information there. So you just copy, paste, send the email, and then with that, then you should get your reimbursement. Although, having said that, I don't know if you've all come to Amazon changed the process slightly, in that they come back and let's say you need to use their tool for reconciliation. So then you have to go into the tool with your SKU and then open up the case that way. So I'm going to be changing the reconciliation process to automatically do that as well. So that's something else to be coming. But yeah, you don't have to be doing all this manual process, which we all had to do beforehand. SDK, and SDK just looks after it. You don't have to worry about any reimbursement or any item going missing. So yeah. And so many users have said it pays for itself. You'll easily get your 30 quid a month that pays for SDK back. And this is money that you would not get if SDK hadn't highlighted it to you.
I'm just going to do mine from the start of the year. So it was 184 last month. So this is just profit off it. It was just under £2,300 profit on reimbursements. So yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy.
That's just profit, because your actual reimbursement is probably 3 or 4 times that.
Yeah, that would have taken whatever amount of time.
Yeah, so that's thousands of pounds, literally thousands of pounds that you would not have been able to get back.
Yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah, and it's like a payday. It's like a dividend whenever you sign up. I remember just being blown away, just like Donal said. Pay for 2 full years of SDK, so it's 30 quid a month, 720 odd quid. Yeah, the first hit. Yeah. Okay, cool. So guys, it's not ideal, this setup, but we are going to have great even with Norm. So not here for a long time, here for a good time. Let's crack through. So there's a girl called Julie Crespin posted a couple of questions in Norm's SDK group. So it was all around the repricer, and I think since we last had this live, Norm, you've introduced automations into SDK. So can you talk a little bit about that and what's changed there if people aren't aware and that type of stuff?
Yeah, so far we've introduced 3 new automations. Automations where you have an item that's not had any orders in so many days. You can say how many days you want, and then if you say, right, if it's not had an order in 10 days, I want it to go to a more aggressive rule. So it'll just say, right, no orders in 10 days, it'll go to more aggressive rule. And then in that rule, you could say, well, if there's no orders in 20 days, that's the 10 plus the 10, so another 20 days. You can say, okay, well, dump it. Do you know what I mean? You can just say, right, this isn't selling, so you can go to another rule. And you can string along as many rules as you want. So you've got the automations for, they all work in a very, very similar way. You've got low stock. So if you're running out of stock, it may be that you say, well, I've sold all my batch of stock. I bought 50 of these items. I've got 2 left. I'm not going to replan them. I just want to dump them. Do you know what I mean? So you've got 2 left. Just dump them. It could be the other opposite way around. It is a replan. You've got 2 of them. You don't want to go out of stock, so you put the price up. So you bump it to go to a rule to bump the price up so that they don't sell, so you don't go out of stock. And then once you come back into stock, then what happens then is that you can set your rule up to say, well, once things have changed, revert back to the original rule. So you've got that for stock control, orders, and now aging, which is the latest one I added. It doesn't work from the Amazon aging. Amazon aging is corrupt. If you take a look at any of your aging reports in Amazon, they are completely wrong. So I didn't want to use that, and my aging took a long time to get right because I had to develop a whole new process that works out real aging. So the aging you see on there is totally 100% accurate.
Well, okay, so let's dig a bit deeper on that derelict of duty if I didn't. So talk to me about how it's corrupt or inaccurate on Amazon and how you've fixed that. So are you working out the age of the inventory based on, I don't know, the SKU, or how are you managing that?
Yeah, so SDK knows when it arrived, when all your items arrive. Now, there's quite a reasonably big algo or piece of code to work out where all your stock is and how old your stock is. And it's obviously far better than what they did at Amazon, because that doesn't work. So it says, right, you shipped in 20 6 months ago, 10 3 months ago, 100 last month, and it knows how many you've got left, and it just does a backwards calculation type thing to work out, right, well, what's the oldest item? What's if you've got 10 items and you sent 10 in last week, it knows that it's 7 days old. If you've got 1,000 items and you sent 10 items in every month, or 100 items in every month, then it knows that the oldest one's, where are we, 1,000? The oldest one's 10 months, yeah?
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
So, but it knows it by the day. So even though it'd be a bit too verbose if I had on the SDK, you've got, it's 91 days, 92 days, 110 days. So I just bulk them up into like 0 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90, then 90 to 180, things like that. So you've got them in those aging brackets. But on your aging in your on your automation, that's at any number of days.
Okay. So how do Amazon report it then if it's corrupt?
Well, Amazon have a report, and it just has a SKU. It has your SKU. I can't remember what the report looks like. It's just got your SKU, and then it's got number of items 0 to 90, number of items 91 to 180, then 181, 270, like that. It just has a number of items in each one of those buckets. That's all it has. But that is inaccurate. That is, if you pull down that report, especially if you've been going a while, you could see stuff in there that's saying you've got an item there for 365 plus days, yet you've got none available, you've got none in stranded, you've got none in unfillable, you haven't got any stock absolutely anywhere, but it's got one in somewhere in one of those buckets. You want to have 1, 2, 5 or whatever. And so many people have found that. When I first did the aging, I was using the Amazon report for the first probably 4 or 5 days, and I realized it was inaccurate and wrong. And that's why I scrapped it and started again.
Well, that's a key thing with IPI, such a hot topic at the moment. So
absolutely, it's so true, exactly. So now you've got the opportunity to go back and say, why is that showing 365 plus days when the SDK is showing I've got nothing? And you can turn around and say there is nothing there. Send me a photograph of that item with my front scoop label on it for proof, and they'll come back and say no, nothing's there, and take it off your storage, because you're paying storage on these items as well. And it's I tell you, everything that comes through from Amazon is buggered up.
I don't know if any of them are watching at the moment. They're probably all asleep. But yeah, Cynthia, that's your job for tomorrow then. So yeah, because that makes sense, because we've done so much work with IPI, and we've done a lot with inventory management recently. The past 2 months, it's went really well. But then all of a sudden, there's like some books from like a couple of years ago appear, not available in inventory.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. Yeah.
Now, live. I've just added something in my to-do list.
There we go.
An aging comparison. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a process together. So like reconciliation, I'll have an aging comparison. So where they're saying that you've got 10 items in 270 to 365, and SDK saying none, you can turn around and say, right, I'm raising the case. And so that's what I'm there for. I just added something there. That's on the to-do list.
Awesome. I mean, because obviously part of IPI is inventory age, and we're all looking at terms in inventory, so that's going to affect that, because ours was going down and then it's bumped up recently.
Right.
So yeah, okay.
And
very
it affects your long-term storage costs as well.
Yeah. Well, you've got it's till week 39. So up until week 39, which is the end of Q3. So each quarter is 13 weeks. So Q1, 13 to 26, so on. You've basically got until the end of this month, which is week 39, to get your IPI score 500 plus. If you've got it 500 plus, then you're okay for Q4. If you don't, it'll impact what you're able to do in Q4. And I can see, well, I don't want to speculate too much, but obviously inventory limits came in like a dose of salts recently, and I can see something happening potentially before BFCM, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So yeah, that's very interesting. If you could bump that up to the top of your to-do list,
I think that is actually an important one. You're absolutely right. And I'll see about getting that done over a shorter term.
It's very interesting. Okay, great. Well, just check in. So let's have a look at any other kind of topics. Yeah. Any other questions? So
we moved off of automations because we went on to iGen there, but
yeah, let's go into automations then.
So with the automations, simply put, you can set the automation. So you say, right, I haven't made an order in 60 days. And you don't make that order if you haven't made an order in 60 days. Just actually, I'll go to iGen because orders is slightly different. See, with order, it will just go to the next rule you define, and then that rule may say, right, well, I need to allow this price to go a lot lower. So you just set your minimums a lot lower, and then you could say, right, after 90 days, not so, you can bump it onto another rule, and you'll end up going down the line on the rule and never come back. But with aging and stock levels, you can actually set the SKU to come back to the original rule. So if you're saying, right, I've got, say you've got 100 items and they're all spread out between 0 and 30 and 0 to 90 days, but you've got one that will just hang around and it's at 365 plus days. You just want to get rid of that one because that's going to go into long-term storage fees. It's costing you money, storage fees. You just want to get rid of one. So you can just say for instance, on your automation, you say, if I've got anything over, say, 180 days, go to my 180-day rule, and then you can also say switch on another switch. Says once there's none over the 180 days anymore, come back to the original rule.
So you can manage it that way.
Yeah, so you don't have to do anything. Yeah, just let it do its thing. So
interesting. No, that's awesome. Okay. Couple other things. Yeah, just a bit of kind of housekeeping for this month. iGen. So obviously we've got Norm talking on here talking about SellerTool Kit and how you manage your inventory. Like I said, pretty important week leading into Q4. So if you guys aren't aware, basically your limits are kind of defined at the end of week 39. So you will have had an email in regards to this. So week 39 is the last week in September. So if you're close to 500, either below or above, keep an eye on your IPIs. I'm sure you guys all are. And reach out to Norm if you want to learn a bit more about automations and things like that. We are also having a wholesale themed month this month. So today I've been filming some top tips for wholesale. I think there's a few of them pretty interesting. I'm sure a couple of them you've already heard before, but I would say the majority you probably haven't. So they are going to be going live. First one's tomorrow, and then we'll be releasing them every other day for the next 2 weeks. So look out for top tips. We're going to launch them in the Facebook group and on YouTube. They're only 3 or 4 minutes long each, so make sure you catch up on them. Next week as well, Eamon and I are going to be across in Birmingham. So Eamon and I are both based in Ireland, so we're flying across to Birmingham Saturday, I think. Well, I'm flying across on Saturday. Yeah, Eamon is too. So we're going to cross to the autumn show, the autumn fair, the NEC. So if anyone else is attending, we are having a meetup. Just a bit of housekeeping around the meetup. We are going to have a meetup on the Monday at the NEC. Very casual. We'll find somewhere to kind of break out. There's loads of food areas and things like that. that evening, I have organised a room for food and drinks. So if you want to join the evening, meet, we are asking for a small deposit of £9. Basically, just means we know what the numbers are, so that we're not calling the restaurant and saying, yeah, we've got 200 here, and 10 people turn up. So yeah, it covers coffee, snacks, and yeah, if you're lucky, Eamon might even buy you a drink. So if you want to get involved, it's very casual. I don't know about you, Norm, but I've always found that meeting other people in the industry is just great, and it's all about community, and what you'll learn from other people isn't available in courses, isn't available on YouTube, because you're getting their perspective as well as kind of information that you just won't get.
Yeah, absolutely agree. A lot better in person.
Yeah. And I mean, well, post a look for it there. And I mean, Aim and I are both from Ireland, and we've been messaging a few times on Facebook, but it took us to both fly to the autumn show, the autumn fair, sorry, and we met for the first time in Birmingham, when we're only like an hour away from each other at home. So yeah, that was a couple of years ago, and sure, look where we are now. So who knows, you might meet someone and form like a business partnership, form a relationship that you wouldn't be without. So yeah, I would encourage anyone to come down. If you want to come down to the evening do, you're very, very welcome. If you're down just at the show meeting prospective suppliers, then come and have coffee and have a bit of crack. So that is on the Monday. I'm going to be down on the Sunday, the Monday and the Tuesday in the NEC, but we're kind of having a down day on the Monday. So I'll be working for my Amazon business on the Sunday and the Tuesday. Also, apologies, Fred and Arthur. Fred and Arthur will be down as well. So Fred and Arthur are our partners at We Prep FBA. So they're our prep partner. I've been using them for the last 2 years, just over 2 years actually. And we had a live with them a few weeks ago. So if you want to meet them, they're bringing a few people down as well. And they're going to be joining us for food and drinks that evening as well. So if you want to get involved, get yourself booked in, and we'll see you on Monday. So yeah, that's kind of all the housekeeping that I need to cover. If there's any questions on that, you can get them answered as well. In terms of just if we're talking about wholesale, and this is a bit of a curveball for you, Norm, are there any specific aspects of SellerTool Kit that would be really well? All the kind of features are very important, no matter what sort of numbers you're doing in terms of units or sales or whatever. But is there any features or benefits of SellerTool Kit that you would say really lend themselves to like a wholesale business model? Maybe reconciliation, or I suppose repricing is really important. Is there anything that you would specifically say that like wholesale businesses have come to you and said that that's really useful, or made any suggestions like that?
Yeah, they have done, and I was lucky enough to have a very big wholesale seller as one of my very first customers for STK, it was through him that the replenish feature in STK became what it is. And he is a huge seller, and he wanted something. Now, I had already decided how the replen was going to work, and he just put in a few of his pennyworth, which made such a difference. And we worked together, and then it became what it is. Especially, it's the sheet that he used, and so that came from wholesale. I'd say that the one thing that STK does need to change for wholesale, and that's the COGS, because the COGS always expect VAT to be entered. And when you buy wholesale, you're generally not, the cost that you have of each item is normally a net of that. And you don't want to be dividing that by your 1,000 items and then adding 20p in, so 20% in. So I'm going to be changing the COGS so that it's easier, or a setting that's easier. So it's like, COGS from now on don't include VAT. So that's something that's the only thing that I can think of that wholesalers suffer from at the moment. I've got a way round for them at the moment. So as soon as if somebody comes on and they're totally wholesale, then I just flick a switch in STK myself, which means that their COGS can be entered net of that. So that just needs to be made a feature within STK. But most of the things, like I say, we've got quite a lot of wholesalers use STK, and they're absolutely happy with it. And so there's not much more that you actually need. You've got everything you need from whether you're wholesale, RA, OA, or even dropshipper.
Interested. Obviously, without naming names, so he's a fairly big seller. What sort of numbers would he be generating?
I haven't looked. I don't look at people's individual accounts, to be perfectly honest, to see what they're doing. I don't think that's really fair either, you know. But
I was just interested.
Yeah. But I will tell you that what's gone through STK since it went live in March, March 20 went live.
Oh wow, this would be interesting. Okay, so what's come through?
150 million pounds of order.
Wow.
The profit on that is around about 40 million. So if anybody says that this business is dead, just through STK's books have gone around 40 odd million pounds worth of profit in just over a year and a half.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty good margin as well. That's 30% would be 50 million. So
yeah, that's right. So 100. Yeah. So exactly, they're big numbers. But some people are doing, as you can see, some people have posted some of their margins, some of their ROIs are over 100%. You know, and some of these people, and on wholesale, you're going to be, if you've got a good wholesale account and you're big and you're getting good discounts, you're making very good ROI. Yeah,
that's what it's all about, Mr. ROI. I'm sure Calvo is watching, so expecting some screenshots soon. Okay, cool. Just seeing a comment come through from Karen D. Oh, right, here we go. So we've got a spate of questions. So, hi Calvo, how's it going, buddy? So, how many users does STK have? And that's from Arthur at WePrep.
Oh, Arthur. Hey, Arthur. I met Arthur and Fred a year and a half ago, just before STK went live, actually. We have over 1,000 people using STK, and a large percentage of those use the repricer as well. I mean, the repricer is quite amazing how many people have come from other repricers and are blown away by STK's repricer, especially those that come from algo repricers. They know that they don't work once they come onto STK and see that STK just blows them away. There is a learning curve with the STK because you've got to set up your own rules. One of the things I do need to do for reprice, I'm going off tangent here, is that I do need to do, and I think I said this last time, I've said it on the viewcast, I need to do a recording, perhaps not a live, on how the buy box really. There are so many misconceptions about how buy box works, and that affects how you set up your rules as well. If you don't know how the buy box works, you will set your rules up inaccurately.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the big things that we talked about in the last live that we did, myths around the buy box. Yeah, I mean, in terms of a learning curve, I would say that the learning curve is kind of, what's the right word? It's kind of minimized by the fact that with like repricer.com, you have to upload your cost of goods and your minimum and maximum. I'm just trying to remember because it's been that long since I've done it, but yeah, with other reprices, you obviously have to tell the repricer what you pay per item and what your margin or your ROI or your minimum and maximum is, whereas with STK, it's already got that. So there's a bit more of a learning curve. You negate it, I suppose.
Exactly. And it's not only just got your cost of goods on replens, it knows that you bought 10 at a $5 and the next 20 you paid £6. So the repricer knows that it was the first $5 at $5 and the next 10, next first 10, your COG was a $5, and then your 11th, now your COG is a £6. So it has to reprice differently based on your margins. Whereas there's no other app that I know of, even just a profit and loss app that does that, and all repricers tend to have to set, by price, which is not how you do pricing. When you're pricing, it's based on return, not on the price. And you work from return not price. And although you can set it by price individually on STK, it's not the way to go. The best way is just say, look, on this batch of items, I know I make around about 30%. That's going to be my minimum will be, say, 10 or 15%. Let them ride, let them sell out. And the other thing is that people who think that if you set 10% ROI as your minimum, you're going to sell out at 10%, which you're not. You're going to sell out at your normal amount. It's just that if things do crash, you'll get rid of them at the fair value at that time, and they're gone. You know, you can hang on, but I don't see the point in hanging on to stock.
No. Yeah, it's a cash flow business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, message from So Arthur, that's great. Are you coming to the meetup? Norm, come down Monday.
Do you know what? When I saw the thing, I thought, September, that's miles away, but it's not, is it?
Okay, yeah. I know. Yeah, it's crazy. I saw something. Yeah, I saw something. What was it? I can't remember what it was. I'll not talk about it. But yeah, it's 1st of September. 4 months left of the year.
Yeah.
So many. I think it's 3 paydays left until Christmas. Something crazy like that. So yeah.
I doubt it. I'll have definitely. I have to think about it now. That it's not. It's a lot closer than what I thought it was.
Whereabouts you based, Norm?
Where am I based? Just the other side of the M25, just outside of London. I'm in Surrey.
Sure. Fred and Arthur are coming from Ipswich. They could lift you on the way over.
Well, now they're a bit higher up to the right, but yeah. I know the Birmingham's a 2-hour drive. I think it's no big deal.
Yeah. Let's see. Calvo, I price mine average of Keepa information and 10 below max ever sale price. I price mine. Yeah, I think Calvo does it off Keepa or 10% below max. There was a message from Eamon, but I seem to have lost it. But warehouse stock management, I'm not sure what that was. So yeah, I mean, I'll not give too much away, but you were talking a little bit about a few features. Are there any kind of stock management, inventory, warehouse management options in the future, or
that gets asked a lot. That does get asked a lot. So yeah, I'm actually going to be working with somebody who has a good idea of what they need, and then it's on my list. It's actually like quite high up on the list because especially people who don't do their own prep will want to know where their items are. Even if you do your own prep, don't do your own prep. Sorry, if you do your own prep, then you want to know what's in your garage. If you don't do your own prep, you probably still want to know what's in your prep center.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing at the moment. Terrified what's in my garage and unit. Actually, I need to get moving on that. Actually, okay. So that's interesting. Is there a time frame for that, or
I can't give any time frames. The thing is, so like the aging thing just like I said added today, just half hour ago to my list, and then I've got to slot that in somewhere. So I slot things in all the time. There's sometimes where I say I've got to stop doing it, and I have stopped doing it. I mean, Al Carton said exactly the same thing on one of his interviews. Is that you can't give dates because things change weekly, daily, hourly. You might have to do a lot of housekeeping, your own housekeeping maintenance. There are times where I can't make any progress with new features because I've just got 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of work to do on the back end to make everything work again. Do you know what I mean? So, database changes and all sorts of things. So things like that have to be done. So with new features, it tends to come down to what's really needed as opposed to what people are getting away with at the moment. So the aging thing, that there is becoming more and more important the more I think about it since I wrote it down. And I think that should go high. I mean, there are other things like the items that go into researching. This researching thing just appeared out of nowhere, didn't it? Like you've got, it's not unfillable, but it goes into a researching bucket. And it just started happening a few months ago. So SDK doesn't report on researching. It doesn't do the reconciliation on researching. So people are calling in saying, "Hey, this item is showing that I've got 10 items missing," and it turns out they're researching. So the things like that, which are what I call like they're maintenance things that need to be put in because that's causing other people pain because they're and me paying because they're asking me where those 10 items are. And I know like they're in researching, so then there are things like that on the list, you know what I mean, on my list, which are the maintenance list, and those maintenance items become the higher priority because they're features that are in right now that aren't doing that need changing to be 100% correct.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was listening to a podcast earlier, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the founder of let me get it right, Backblade. So it's basically if you've got a hairy back, it's how you shave your back, right? It's not a problem I have, but whatever. So I was listening to it, and he's been trading for like I think 10 years, and he's doing like something crazy like 15-20 million a year. He's selling on Amazon and Shopify, and it's taken them I think 7 years to release their second product. One of the questions the girl asked him was, well, what's jumping out at me is like it's taken 7 years for you to release like your second product. Like, why did it take so long for you to do that? And he more or less said, well, if we've got one product and for whatever reason it needs like another 50K's worth of research and development, that 50K's worth of research and development is better spent in something that's already developed and trying to iterate on that and, you know, close the gap. Whereas if I invest in a new product and it flops, not only does that flop, but that's 50K that wouldn't have been invested in that original product and he's consumables. So yeah, potentially that 50K in the first product would have been invested in new customers, repeat customers, and it would have snowballed stats. And it's a little bit like that, whereas I suppose something major like inventory management for a warehouse would be great, but when something like that crops up, the research, then that's a fire that you need to put out kind of immediately, I suppose, rather than...
Exactly right. It's exactly how it works. So there's no point in building new features when you've already got like a few things to sort out already on the current features, because you're just making more work for yourself. You put that in, you know you're going to have glitches with this process, and now you've got them all over the place. So where do you stop? You know what I mean? You just have to focus on getting everything as accurate and 100% right before you move on to the next item.
Well, there's an endorsement from Eamon. Yes, I'd love SellerTool Kit to be able to tell me how much stock of an item I have in my warehouse. Yeah, I never thought Eamon would fill that warehouse, but seems to be getting close to it at the moment. So fair play to Eamon. Just a little running joke that we have. So cool. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to share a couple links. So guys, if for whatever reason you're maybe using something else and want to give SellerTool Kit a try, yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer really. Well, it's a no-brainer. I'm just going to post a link for SellerTool Kit, and there's a free trial offer on there as well, so I'll share that. And you're just back from Cornwall, aren't you, Lauren? Is that right?
Yeah. This time last week was down in Cornwall for a few days. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, my sister, she's based in Perranporth, and she absolutely loves it. It's great down there.
It is a great place. Yeah.
It's awesome. So that's that link for SellerTool Kit. So if anyone wants to get involved. Question from Sebastian. Sebastian recently was posting his success over the last, his success over the last few months. Awesome just to see someone do really well, to be honest. So fair play to you, Sebastian. Really well done. Another question from Sebastian. Is there a plan to fetch export data Google Sheets? Is there a plan to fetch or export data Google Sheets? So I think Sebastian is quite technical, and he would use Google Sheet to like scrape data from websites and have automations like that. So are there any, I think what Sebastian's asking there, are there any plans to kind of integrate with Google Sheets and the Google Suite?
There aren't. There are no plans. Unless somebody comes up with an idea, or Sebastian says he'd like it to do this, then maybe it could be something that everyone or other people would want. But there's no plans at the moment. Maybe he's asking if there's plans to download the data from SDK into the Google Sheet. So like all your order information, all your inventory information and stuff like that. And there's certainly plans to produce reports for that. If that's what he's asking, yes, that's definitely on the horizon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, again, guys, I think there's an issue with Facebook allowing kind of third-party software to stream on its platform, which happens every so often. So a little bit limited with this, but we're getting there. Okay, message from Kelvo. It would be great if SDK could pull data into. It'd be great if SellerTool could pull data into formation with WePrep FBA. As many users use both, and would save so much time for many. Yeah, so I think what Kelvo was talking about is, so basically streamlining the process of purchasing something, telling the prep center you're sending it to them, and then it being uploaded into SellerTool Kit. So yeah, for that to happen, I would dare say that the prep center and SellerTool Kit would need to use the same type of software, Norm, is that?
Well, possibly. I mean, funny enough, I did talk to Fred and Arthur about this way back, and building something within SDK that would give a prep center access to your SDK account for creating shipments and stuff like that with ease. Or if you have to create your shipments for prep, you can create them, and then they're already within Amazon. There are certain things. I mean, I haven't put a shipment together for years, and I can't remember, but I just remember it seemed to be a bit verbose. It was very, very slow, but it could be the way I was doing it, add a product, rather than just a list of all your items and just quickly click them and then say, right, create me a shipment. And, going through a plan, then the shipment, then the boxes and everything like that. It just seemed to be, there had to be a quicker and more sleek, slimline way of being able to do that. But I've got that down as something to look into, and it could be something that could feed into prep centers, but I haven't scoped it out at all yet, so I have to see how that works out eventually.
Cool. Yeah, well, anything that kind of saves time and just kind of takes, I'm not sure who the quote is from, but it's something about the system being perfect, not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away is the definition of a perfect system. I'm not sure who said that. Okay, cool. So yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap up fairly soon. We're coming up to an hour. So thank you guys for bearing with us with technical difficulties. We'll have to get that fixed if we can. So yeah, if there's any other questions, feel free to drop them below. Just drop, if anyone is watching this and wants to get involved and look at support and things, there's a link to get a call booked in with Liam. So Liam can let you know what type of support is available through us. Obviously, it's a wholesale month this month that we're trying to focus on. We're going into Q4 next month, and yeah, it's if you're maybe looking at this and not sure how to start, now is the perfect time to start opening an account, start selling on Amazon. Just in the mouth of Q4, if you're looking at this and thinking, I'm using STK, but I'm not sure what sort of numbers you need to be doing to get profit on reimbursements of nearly £2,500, then get involved. There is a world of opportunity out there, and like Norma said, what was it, £150 million worth of sales that SellerTool Kit has processed? Is that the right word? Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. That's how I put it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I was told 4 years ago when I started that it was too competitive. So there's more people each year, but it also grows each year as well. So okay, last question is from Umar. Good man, Umar. I know you were trying to get logged on earlier, so good to see you. Do you think STK will get to a point where it will automatically send the emails for reconciliation to Amazon as soon as it is recognized, hence allowing the user to not even think about sending them a couple of emails per week potentially? Wow, great question. So are there plans to
It's not
automate?
possible. It's not actually. It's not. If it were possible, I would have done that with the first iteration of the development. It's just not possible. Amazon don't like you sending email, and they make it almost impossible for you to do manually, and it's virtually impossible for you to do it through a technical process as well. Like, for instance, some people, when they click on the link to open a case within STK, sometimes it takes you to open up a case, sometimes it doesn't take you to open a case. And I still haven't worked out why that is, but everything's hidden behind the scenes in unaccessible JavaScript programs and scripts within the site. So you can't actually just hook into these things and then send off. So Amazon just don't want you creating cases. They make it very difficult for you. If you try and create a case in Amazon today, every time I try to do it manually, I have to work with trying to find where the bloody link is. How do I set a case up? Where do I have to go? And it takes you through a questionnaire of what you want. You end up having to go through a horrible process to actually get to the point of being writing an email, which so like when you set up a case yourself. And so they don't like you setting up cases, which is why they don't have anything within their API process to be able to set a case up. It just wouldn't work. So if I could ever work out how to do it, it's a possibility. But there's no plans at the moment because I played around with it and I just couldn't get it to actually fire off and do anything because the links just won't work.
Another question here, just quickly, it should be a fairly easy one to answer. Is there a plan? So this is from Sebastian. Sebastian is based in Germany. Is there a plan to import or fetch the cost of goods from SaaS? Currently, there is an API, but it is mostly about inventory, I think.
Yep, SaaS. I've built some APIs for SaaS, and Alcar is looking into them at the moment, so that when you add something on SaaS, it will automatically set the cog up on ST.
Awesome. Yeah. So definition of a perfect system is when there's nothing left to take away. So yeah, if you could take that away, that would be great. That'd be awesome, actually. Okay. I think, guys, we're going to end it now. Obviously, if there are any other questions, drop a comment below. Join Norm's group. I'll drop a comment for that as well. Is there anything, Norm, that you want to end on?
No. I think we spoke enough.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, listen, thanks, guys, for joining in and bearing with us. So, yeah, we will we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.